the warm-up set. You can't be doing yoke without energy. First set sets the tone for the rest of the workout.
What's going on, Bells of Steel? Today we are starting part one of our How to Get into Strongman series. We're going to highlight our BOS yoke and some of the movements you can use with our implement besides just standard yoke walks, as well as some tips and tricks for the yoke and the other movements that we talk about.
So we are beginning our How to Start Strongman series. We are kicking it off with our yoke walks. This is our Bells of Steel yoke here. Obviously the primary use is our actual yoke walks. One of the most relatable things you see in Strongman. You see guys picking up a car on each side of them and walking it down the street with it. It's the most easily relatable yet unrelatable thing for most people in Strongman. So we're gonna kick it off with a bang. Starting out with our first set of yoke walks here. Basics that we need to think about. We're gonna talk about foot stance, or width I should say, similar to our squat. We're gonna get set up just all the same until we actually pick. So everything from here, from my shoulders down, is similar to a squat. Maybe a slightly narrower stance if you have a wider stance. Once we're here, we're gonna pick our toes up, lightly press our toes in, take a big deep into our belly, pick, we'll start our carries. So we're gonna go over one thing in particular about that last walk, and it's probably the most common misconception with yoke walks right off the bat. People wanna pick the weight up, they see these big strong dudes that are doing yoke walks pretty regularly, and they're taking these giant steps. And especially guys that are 6'8", for instance, Brian Shaw, Hafthor Bjornsson, the genetic freaks, those guys obviously can handle 1,000 pounds on their back. They can take those big steps. Our most important cue for these yoke walks is that bracing of the core at the beginning and maintaining that brace. It's not just getting tight at the beginning. You want to be tight the entire time. And that cues into making sure you're taking short steps. We like to say toes to heels and controlling your breathing. So you're breathing in the belly, trying to break your belt apart the entire time you're taking your breaths. We're going to talk about a couple other movements that our BOS yoke can be used for. Part of about Strongman is being creative in your implements and in your setup. For instance, I mentioned Hafthor earlier. A lot of the Icelandic strongmans get started by literally going out into the countryside and picking up the biggest rocks they can find. So here we try and utilize our yoke in more ways than one. Some of our stronger guys have been known to overhead press our yoke, and it simulates a safe press like they've done in World's Strongest Man. We utilize our yoke for also sort of a pseudo prowler push, especially for the bigger and stronger guys. The yoke is just a lot harder to move than a generic prowler or sled. Apart from that, we can also take the center section of our yoke down. We'll attach a carabiner and a rope to it. We can either do pulls, like a truck pull, for instance, that way, or if you were trying to do an arm over arm, you can simulate an arm over arm very easy that way too. So the yoke is not only great for training the yoke itself, but you can utilize the yoke in a lot of different ways to facilitate your strongman training at home.
So as you guys can see here, I'm getting ready to attach the power belt to the center section of the yoke. I'm going to perform a backwards carry. This kind of lends itself to that creativity we mentioned a couple times about Strongman and finding ways to utilize the implements better in your training. And the yoke is great, obviously, like I said, not just for yoke walks, but yoke carries make you strong everywhere. If you're looking to get into Strongman and you're looking for versatile pieces of equipment, check out bellsofsteel.com and let's see how we can get you started in Strongman today.
So there's a couple exercises and variations, tips and tricks for the yoke for part one of our How to Get into Strongman series. Stick around for part two and part three. We're going to elaborate even further and have more Bells of Steel implements to show you how you can implement Strongman training in your own home gym or your garage.
Hey folks, Kayvon here, founder of Bells of Steel. I hope you loved that video. Be sure to click on the link in the description if you want to get those products for your own home gym. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button and let the games begin.